looks like I'm sharing the shelter with a friend. It looks like we got a black snake up here in the eaves. Although that generally, I don't know if you can see it. That generally means that there are no mice. There's a black snake, there's no mice. So I'm going to close everything good tonight and make sure that we part as friends. Okay, start of day 79 will be June 17. I'm at the Bake Oven Knob Shelter. What did I see the mileage of it was? I don't know. 1240, 1250, something northbound on the AT. Had a recent. I didn't sleep tremendously good last night. I don't sleep so good in shelters on my air mattress, but I got enough sleep. I slept in some this morning. I had a young man join me. His trail name is Daredevil. Told me the story, and he was very good company. So it's nice to have company in a shelter. It's kind of weird to stay in a shelter by yourself all night. There, I just heard it again. Yesterday I heard a tree fall, and I just heard a tree fall down there. That's just been the soaking rain for a while, and so anyway, it's these old rotten trees fall over. But so today's goal is not a big one. I feel like I kind of been treading water here the last several days, but I guess I have. Tim and Mrs. Grayson came up to visit, and so you make accommodations for that. So I've done 5 miles in the last 2 days. I'm going to do 7 miles today. So in 3 days, I'll get a full day of hiking in. But it's okay. The water and the campsites don't line up with the kind of mileage that I would like to do. So you got to stay where you can. So I probably have 4 hours of hiking starting out. It's not raining. It is foggy. A couple of times this morning it's kind of acted like it wanted to clear out. The weather forecast says rainy today, at least yesterday said rainy today, and then probably tomorrow, and then all this is going to clear, but I would be happy if it would clear sooner. So I'm going to get going. It's about 10:30. I took time to call home and do some things this morning. Just am not pushing myself. There's no reason to push yourself to another shelter where you're going to sit and kind of hang out. So I'm gonna ease it up the trail here and see what the day brings. A leisurely day will be fine, I'm sure. Since this is Pennsylvania, I'm sure there will be rocks. Oh, one of the interesting things, and you can't see it now, but this morning the black snake that was in the rafters, I sat there and I watched him uncoil and sneak his way out of the shelter to go do some hunting or whatever he was. He stayed there all last night. The young man that was in the shelter got up this morning, was kind of checking everything to make sure the snake hadn't, well, he checked the rafters to make sure the snake hadn't snuck into one of our packs or something like that. Wouldn't that be a pleasant surprise to open your pack and find a black snake in there? And it was a pretty big black snake. I would say it was 5-6 feet long. But where there are black snakes, there aren't mice. So if there's a black snake in a shelter, you know that you won't have mice in a shelter. So that's one consolation. So I'll keep taking you with me. I think I showed you the shelter last night. The shelter is very basic, but it kept the rain off, and it was nice when I got to camp last night that it was warm, probably in the 70s. And even though my shirt was damp from sweat and what all else, sweat and rain, I just wore them dry. They just dried out, so now I get to start out with basically relatively dry feet, and now it's starting to rain. Dry feet and dry socks and dry shoes. Maybe it's just the rain. Maybe it's just the wind knocking rain off the trees, but I'm going to hit the trail and hike for about 4 hours, and I will see you on down the trail. Here's my old friend Mountain Laurel in bloom again. This is a little bit over the hill, but nevertheless, keep following the mountain laurel bloom north. It's kind of amazing. I've been seeing mountain laurel blooming since probably for the last 6 weeks, maybe more, so maybe 8 weeks. It's really pretty though. And now I got another cruisy set of trail here. Pine needles, although you got to watch out for these little knobby rocks in there that'll kind of kick your foot to the side, but all's good. And the sun keeps threatening to come out, but it hasn't quite make it. That would be such a welcome sight. I haven't seen the sun in a while. I forget exactly what it looks like, I think. But this is really pretty walking here, walking through this kind of this green tunnel with these ferns on one side and laurel. So, okay, Pennsylvania, I have to give it to you. It isn't totally nondescript and boring and rocky. There are some pretty parts of the trail. It's just pretty in a different way. We haven't had any huge mountain vistas or whatever, but there have been sections that were really pretty in their own right. A lot of ferns. Seen a lot of ferns. And rocks are prettier in their own right. They become a lot less pretty when you have to hike all over them. So anyway, kudos to a better day in Pennsylvania. There is cruisy trail in Pennsylvania. Going up sort of a long, gentle uphill. I mean, there are a few little rocks here and there, but making pretty good time. Had a couple of rock sections that were, I kind of rate these things on a scale 1, 2, and 3. One is just a bunch of little rocks that you have to walk over. This wouldn't even quite qualify for that. And then 2, when you kind of got to hop from rock to rock and the boulders are about the size of cinder blocks or bigger. And then 3 is the really big ones where you have step ups and step downs of 2 or 3 feet, maybe more. Have to use your hands. So I haven't really had a 3 today. I've had a couple of strong 2s in the beginning here, so it's kind of nice to have this. So the other thing I've been thinking about today, yesterday I replaced the tips on my tracking poles while I was at the hotel. Actually went to the hotel overnight and then checked out about 12:30, and believe it or not, had a little downtime. Had a little downtime the first night, but not very much. We got some food and got in, and I had to take stuff out of my pack and dry it because it was wet. And I pretty much worked the whole time, did some planning. So there's a lot of work to this. So anyway, yesterday morning, replaced the tips on my trekking poles because they had these sharp carbide tips when I started, and they were worn down to the nubs and kind of dome shaped, and it was wearing into the tip itself. So I needed new tips. The tips I got for replacement were of a different brand, but somebody recommended them. So I was a little nervous that they would stay on. I really like my trekking poles. They're not expensive, but they've really done a good job for me. And so I can say that the replacement was a total success because I haven't had any issues, and I've had a couple of pretty gnarly sections of trail where I've used my sticks really hard. So for those of you that are sort of mechanical, the tips are not glued on or anything, or screwed on or anything like that. They're just a tapered friction fit. So yesterday, to get them off, I had to boil some water and stick the tips in to soften them up, and and kind of break them loose. And then with a good bit of coaxing from a pair of channel locks and 2 people working at it, we got the tips off, and then you just slide them back on, and I slammed them on the floor a few times to make sure that they were seated pretty well, and they have maintained, and I'm sure that taper fit has gotten more pressure as I've walked here yesterday and today, so that was a total success. Today's weather is so far no rain. I've been hiking in regular clothing, but it's 72 degrees and it's like 95% humidity. You just stand in it and you sweat. So I don't smell as bad as I do when I'm wearing rain gear, but I'm about as wet, I would say. But it's nice not to be hiking in rain gear. You breathe a lot better. You cool a lot better. So we're just taking it as it comes. Happy for a nice section of trail. And there's been a couple of times when it looks like the sun's wanted to come out, but the forecast last time I checked is still calling for a chance of light rain showers in the afternoon, or about any time, I guess. And so hasn't materialized. I'm hoping that this stuff is clearing out. I'm a little tired of it, especially at this temps. I guess maybe the best thing, I thought if it would stay 72 degrees and rain, that I might just put on, I wear a rain kilt or a rain skirt just to keep the bottom part of me dry to about my knees, because the rest of it's a hopeless case. And I thought about, well, maybe I would just put on the rain kilt and be done with it, let my top get wet. It's really annoying though to have a really wet head and have water dripping down off your hair as you're walking. So I at one point had carried a hat, a cap with a bill. That would be one solution, I guess, is to keep a little rain off your face. I just found that they're hot when I wear a hat, so haven't found a solution. I've been a little disappointed in my rain jacket, which was expensive, supposed to be breathable and all these kind of things, but it wets out. That's a term when your breathable rain jacket just gets so soaked that it just soaked through, and then it really isn't very effective at all, and it just wets out real easy. I'm thinking about going to Walmart and buying a $20 pair of Frog Togs and trying that for my next rain event. They're light, they're cheap, and I see a lot of them out here, and so they don't have fancy features like zipper pockets or pit zips, but with a pocket knife I can make a slit under the underarms to vent heat out. So maybe the next resupply that I hit a Walmart, I may buy myself a pair of Frog Togs just to try that as an alternative to what I've been using, because I don't know that they've been terribly effective. It has kept my head dry, which is good, and maybe it's just because of the amount of perspiration that I'm pumping into it when I hike. I'm not sure, but definitely not staying dry. But I talked to everybody else and nobody is staying dry. Nobody's staying dry when you hike in the rain. It's about managing body temperature and staying warm enough. And then when you get to where you're going, you strip off the wet and you put on the dry, whether that's in your tent or under your tarp or whether it's at the shelter. And so you keep make sure you keep all your stuff dry. So for me, the way I keep things dry is I have a relatively waterproof pack. It's not waterproof because the one day when we got lots and lots of rain, I found water in the bottom of it. but not a lot. But I have a waterproof pack liner dry bag that everything that needs to stay dry goes in there. And then the really important things like my top quilt, which is like a sleeping bag, and my bottom quilt, they go in another waterproof stuff sack. So I've got 2 or 3 layers of protection, and so far nothing in my dry bag or my pack liner that has been in there has gotten wet. So just got to manage the wet. It's a challenge. I've heard of, if it's 72 degrees now and the nights have been a lot warmer, so it wouldn't be as big a deal. But if your insulation gets wet, you've gotten soaked to the skin during the day and you don't have anything to put on to get warm, it can be kind of serious. So when I was in the Shenandoahs, I had a scenario where I was hiking and I got really cold. I got to the shelter and stripped off all the wet and put on dry, and I was glad to have a top quilt that wasn't wet out and that wouldn't insulate. And it still took a little while to get warm, but that's your safety net. So anyway, random musings on a couple of random topics today. Don't have a long hike today, although this segment of Huffing and Puffing is brought to you by the Rocks of Pennsylvania. Well, indeed, the sun has come out. It is driving some of the humidity away, although it's making it hotter, but it's so nice to see sun rather than just dismal rain and drizzle. I met a guy from Front Royal hiking this way. He is supporting somebody that's hiking, so he goes and gets a campsite or camp spot for 3 or 4 nights and delivers her on trail. She hikes, he picks her up and then takes her back to the campsite or into town for lunch or whatever. Gave me a Snickers bar. We talked a little bit, and that's awesome. And he said that there isn't any really bad rocky patches coming up in this section down into Lehigh Gap, which is actually, that was good news, because I figured generally on downhill, I imagine there are some rocks and some steps, but generally on downhills there are rocky patches. So I'm setting up here. I have 2.7 miles to the shelter. It's fairly early afternoon, but like I said, the next water that I can get on trail is 10 miles from the shelter, and it's 0.4 of a mile off trail. So not quite ready to commit to a 17-mile day, and I would have to do a water carry up, well, I will have to anyway, do a water carry up through Lehigh Gap. So I plan to do that in the morning. Lehigh Gap is, I think I've said before, a rock scramble, and then it gets up on a ridge, and then it's a walk kind of like this. I think there is somewhere up on that ridge, there's at least one gnarly rock scramble. I see on the maps that there is a bypass for Wolf Rocks, and generally when there's a bypass, it means that the rocks are pretty gnarly. So I've got to decide, if it's not raining, I'll probably go over, because I want to do the real thing, and so I just need to be careful. If it's raining, might bypass. I don't know. It's slipping and falling on rainy rocks is not my idea of a good time, so we'll just see what happens. But it is so good. It's so good to see the sun. I looked at a revised weather forecast. They're still calling for thunder showers at after 2 p.m. today. So I don't know what that means. I plan to get into the shelter. I may throw up my tarp, which needs to dry out, at least throw it up to get it dried out, and then decide what I'm going to do for the evening. Really would rather stay in a hammock. I kind of tossed and turned last night. The pad I have is not too luxurious, but it works in a pinch, so that's kind of the plan. Let me see where the trail goes. Bypass trail. Rejoins AT in 1.5 miles. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to the AT, so that means I'm going this way. So, keep taking you with me. Well, hey, wrap up of day 79. I'm staying here at the George Auto Bridge Shelter. It's an old shelter, but it is the last water on trail for 20 miles. There is water in 10 miles that you have to hike 4/10 off, which is probably what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So I had a choice today of 7.5 miles or 17.5 miles, and once we go down, this shelter is about 2/3 the way down into Lehigh Gap, and the climb out of Lehigh Gap is a steep scramble. Some people say they like it, and other people kind of complain about it. Some people have to take their packs off and kind of hoist them up over rocks and then climb up over rocks. So I just didn't want to do that kind of later in the day, so I'm here. Would like to make more miles today, but let me show you the shelter here a little bit and what's around. It does have a fair amount of mosquitoes, but so it's kind of a crude structure here, but it all works. Got a sleeping platform up set up over there in the corner, and one of the good things is that they have a bear box here. So I don't know, looks like it might be a little bit of a hike down to the bear box, which is kind of crazy. Oh, I see it down there. It's not too far. So tonight when I'm done with supper, I will hike my food down to the bear box, and in the morning I'll go down and retrieve it. So it's been a good day. No rain. Any day without rain is a good day. Had right off from the shelter, had a section of kind of gnarly. Well, I had a little cruisy section, then kind of a gnarly rock section to hike through rocks, but it wasn't that long. I've had rocks all day, but most of the rocks have just been little things that are easy to work around. So feels weird to be done at well, it's now 4:58, but I got here at about 2:30 or 3. I took a little nap because I didn't sleep good last night, and so I'm hoping to get a good rest tonight. They're calling for possible showers in the night and possible rain showers tomorrow, but today I got to see the sun, and so I got to hike dry socks, dry clothes, other than sweating to death because it was like, at one point it was 82, and I bet like 98% humidity. All you have to do is take 2 steps and you're beaten up with sweat because there's so much humidity. But that seems to be, the humidity seems to be going down, so we'll see what tomorrow brings. If tomorrow isn't overcast, like the forecast is, then it'll be hot, be in the 80s. So I'm hoping not to get too late a start and get up over Lehigh Gap. And then it's a ridge walk, and then I need to drink up a lot of water in the morning, and I need to carry probably 2 liters. Hopefully that'll make it 10 miles. That's a push if it's hot, but it's just the way it is. And then I'll get water. I think I'll camp at the next water hole because there aren't very many good options. It's possible I could go another 3 beyond. There's a section of rocks called Wolf Rocks, and it has a bypass around it. Maybe I've said this on video, but usually when there's a bypass around something, it means it's pretty gnarly, but it isn't too long. So it may be that I'll go camel up water, and depends on when I get there, I'll camel up water and go farther, but I'm content with 10 to 12 miles in these sections with these hard rocks. It just really works on you. So that's a wrap up of day 79, wrapping up early in the daylight, and gonna get some supper here. I'm gonna make some videos. Might even post up a video tonight. I have 5G occasionally, and so try to keep ahead of what I'm doing so I have some time. So anyway, thanks for following along, and this is close of day 79.